Okay, I'm going to discuss a way to bring all this together into a single kind of learning point. This will be the kind of the big takeaway from this lesson. So we have this image here. How do we know whether or not this is a good image? Given all of the criteria that we have to think about in evaluating an image, what's a quick and easy way to consistently make sure that we are applying the appropriate evaluation criteria to our images after taking the pictures, that we know how to reposition them, and that we're also doing it in a very stressful environment? The answer is Paceman, Paceman, and this is a way that an easy to remember acronym for a way to evaluate images. So first, we'll look at the position. This is appropriate, and I'm just going to describe what I'm seeing in terms of positioning. This looks like to me like an AP lumbar spine, and it's appropriately positioned. I can see that there's not a significant degree of distance between this pedicle and this pedicle, so I know that this is a true AP. There's no angulation in the anatomy. The area covered, have I covered the entire area of the lumbar spine? I have. Collimation is appropriate, and I can see actually the collimated field. The exposure is appropriate. If I was trying to see this joint here, that might be a little difficult, but I've got quite a bit of exposure through the area of interest. The marker, the image is correctly marked. The aesthetics, these would be things like whether things are elongated or if there's a double exposure, something like that. It looks aesthetically pleasing. And then, of course, the name is blocked out here, but we would want to make sure that in PACS that it's appropriately named. So let's apply those same principles to this image here. Again, it looks like it's a lumbar spine image, and just take a minute to look at this image and determine whether or not it satisfies those Paceman criteria. So what we have here is actually a double exposure. It looks like there's a foreign body that's occluding the pedicle of this lumbar vertebra here, but we can also see double borders here, and this would happen quite a bit with film. It could potentially happen with computed radiography, but not with digital. But we have two images here, so it's in terms of AP positioning, it's appropriate. The area covered is appropriate. It's actually collimated okay, kind of. The marker in this case is not on the correct side. Ideally, we would want it on the appropriate side, but it is marked, and it's symmetrical. Of course, name's going to be non-applicable for most of this, but we're double exposed. Here's another. Let's look at this image for a moment and just determine if it's appropriate. We could increase the exposure here. So the position's correct, the area is covered right, it's collimated well, it's marked appropriately, symmetrical, but it's very difficult to see this area right in here. And so we could potentially increase the exposure. Another image. So position, area, collimation, exposure, marker, aesthetics, and name. Of course, the obvious thing here is the marker is incorrect. So it is. Would assume it is a left hip, but we would want this marker on the left, on the patient's lateral side. This image is completely correct. Everything about it is great. So just applying Paceman can also help us know that this is a good image. I just want to point out this is part of how we can discipline ourselves and learn over the course of a lifetime as a technologist, is applying Paceman to images and saying, hey, yeah, this is actually a really good Y-view shoulder. So this is position correct, more or less. The area is covered well, collimated well, exposure is appropriate, but we've got some voluntary patient motion. This may be a teenager or combative patient. They're not they're moving while we're taking our picture. It's a double exposure again. We can actually see two stomachs here real clearly, and that kind of mottled appearance there. So this is positioned correctly. The area is correct, collimated well. They have clearly used a good radiation protection, but it is underexposed. There's some quantum model all through here that so the image is underexposed. I can't see the marker either, so I'm going to cross this out. It is not marked correctly, but it is symmetrical, as in the patient's not rotated, and of course the name's not applicable. This is a weird little final image here. This is from some kind of Miss Chiropractic Society of America award. These women were given awards for the most correct posture, like the best spine, and also exposed to quite a bit of radiation in the course of winning this absurd award.